How are you? I'm excited that we're doing our Bible through the year and we're getting started. Here's the book we're using, the Bible in 52 Weeks. And so we have read Genesis 1 through 21, basically. So we have started out with, let me show you my Bible. This is the Illustrating Bible. It's big and heavy, and I have a hard time holding it up, but I'm going to show it to you. This is my Holy Bible I wrote for illustrating, pondering, asking, worship, prayer. It is not for shelf sitting or dust collecting, so I try to honor that. So in the beginning, God, and we could stop right there. In the beginning, God. What more do we need to say? I did a little waterfall of the creation, and it's very, very simple. Yes, I'm an artist, but I'm not going to spend a lot of art time in here because then it would become sort of, special, and we'd have to put it under class and stuff, and we aren't going to do that. So I made a waterfall here. I wrote out the verse, and I drew some of the pictures. So each one is in there, and if you want, we can make a waterfall. So there's that. And then we have Adam and Eve, and we have the fall of man. Now, I found it interesting. Each time you read it, you find something different. And this time I thought, these people caused the fall. And yet he took them afterwards and said, populate the earth. Isn't that interesting? So Adam blamed the woman, and the woman blamed the serpent. And the Lord said, everybody's guilty. But he forgave them. We have Cain and Abel. We have Noah and the flood. Did you notice the Nephilim in chapter 6? When humans increased in number, the sons of God, the Nephilim, saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful and they married them. So they mixed in with them. And then people began to sin, and the Lord was unhappy. So he put Noah and his family in charge of building an ark and taking all the animals onto the ark with them. I don't want to think about the smell of that ark and all that time they had to be on there with all that smell. Anyway, so they all survived and came out, and the animals came out, and God made a covenant. And someone has perverted our beautiful rainbow, but he gave us a rainbow. I don't have that drawn in yet. I will sometime. What I do is, my drawing is, it's what I do so I can focus on the word. It's not what I do so that it can be beautiful, because it's not beautiful. I purposely do not make it too special in here. I'm looking for my little journal to show to you. Anyway, we go to the Tower of Babel, and the Lord said, they're getting uppity, so I'm going to make them all speak different languages. Therefore, they can't really talk to each other. And he spread them out. He scattered them. Now, in Genesis 12, we have the call of Abraham, and I do want to go over, when God calls us, a lot of times, He has us shed off the things that are not important. This is what's going to happen as you realize your calling on your life from God, is that the things that are not important are going to fall away. And this is what happened with Abraham. He left his country, Ur of the Chaldeans, which I think is now Iraq. The familiar, the comfortable, the idolatry, that's what he left. He left his father's house. He left his comfort zone, familiarity. Over in chapter 14, he left the Vale of Jordan and Lot's greed. A physical and spiritual separation from worldly riches and covetousness. He had to let go of that. In Egypt, he lied. He claimed that Sarah was his sister. He didn't trust God enough to just take care of his wife, so he had to leave Egypt. And then he and Sarah, now he had this covenant from God, but he was 99 years old when he received that covenant. He didn't believe God. So they decided there was a shortcut way, and there became Hagar and Ishmael, and so he had to leave them so that this covenant could happen, where he and Sarah finally had the baby they had been promised a long time ago. This is about trust. We have got to trust in God. Speaking of his promise at 99 years old, there was an artist, Grandma Moses. She had never painted until she was 78 years old, and she was poor and just trying to come up with some gifts, and that's why she painted. And she, I guess, fell in love with it and kept painting. And someone from New York saw her paintings, and one thing led to another. That woman painted thousands of paintings, and they sell for over $100,000 now. And she painted until she was 101 years old. So if you didn't believe the story of Abraham, for some reason you think that's old, that doesn't happen anymore. Well, this wasn't as old. This happened in the 1900s. So, you know, if God gives you something, it doesn't matter how old you are. Then we have the three visitors. We have Sodom and Gomorrah. And then we have the story about Abraham and Abimelech, where God told Abimelech, Sarah is a married woman. And I believe we did read through the birth of Isaac this time. And that's where we'll stop for today. So read back through them again if you need to. Oh, let's cover our book. You've got to decide in your heart, this is on page 3, not to give in to the doubt. Doubting hinders the progress to your promise, paralyzes you, and keeps you stagnant. It makes you want to take control rather than trust God with your life. So, the points to ponder: when you were faced with an impossibility, how did you handle it? And after this lesson, how will you handle those impossibilities going forward? What did this lesson teach you about faith? What areas have you discovered where you're strong in faith? And what areas have you discovered where your faith needs to be strengthened? What are some impossibilities that you will commit to prayer? I'm sure we all have some. And all of these are something we'll go over in person in class. I just wanted to hit on them for this first week. Actions for the week. Decide in your heart to think and speak positively, replacing negative words with positive ones. Make a commitment to yourself to intentionally respond to your doubts with declarations of faith. And at the end of the week, note how speaking positively into your life has begun to have a good impact on your outlook and your ability to trust God. Now, there we go. That's all I have for you this week. And I will see you again next week. Every time we meet in person and in Zoom on Sunday evening, and then we will, I will upload that recording to YouTube on Tuesday. So thank you very much for being here.